Hello, lovely people. How are you? Happy Monday. Hope you're well. Hope you've had a good start to the week and a lovely weekend. I'm flying solo this week. I feel like I've had guests in for the past 4 weeks, I think, actually. So it feels kind of strange to be on my own. So talk to me, please. Chat to me in the comments. Give me a wave if you're watching. Or cooking. It's kind of not so much of a cook along today as it is just some inspiration and prep tips for protein. So give me a wave if you're watching, and yeah, chat to me so I don't feel lonely. Oh, also give me a hashtag if you're watching on replay for anyone who's watching back later. I've never understood why people say this, but I've just found out, so now I feel like I'm going to say it, because apparently if you hashtag or if you comment when you're watching back, I'll obviously get a notification and then I can chat to you live. So it's kind of live, but after the event, if I'm around. So yeah, comment if you're watching later and let me know if you're here live. I'm looking forward to today. It's kind of a little bit self-indulgent today's actually, because lately I've been struggling with meal prep. Specifically getting protein into my diet, and I've realised that it's been lacking. So today is all about prepping protein. So hopefully, I figured that if I'm struggling with it, then chances are someone else will be struggling with it. So although it's slightly self-indulgent, hopefully it's useful to some of you guys as well. So yeah. We'll just crack on. We're live on Facebook and YouTube. I'll get the comments from both, so whichever platform you're on, then yeah, chat to me and I'll get the comments and we'll receive them and stick them up here. So yeah, over the past few months really, I guess, I've realised that I haven't been meal prepping the same as usual. I used to be very good at prepping in advance and having a fridge stocked full of tasty stuff, and I knew it was all nutritionally balanced, and probably part of that is because I used to be cooking for New Norm as well, and now that I don't do so much of that myself anymore, I have become a bit more ad hoc, and I kind of cook as I go a little bit, which in theory is absolutely fine. You know, my diet basically consists of porridge in the mornings, like oats and fruit, often avocado and toast for lunch, and a quick veggie stir fry or salad or something like that for dinner. So inherently there might be some cake and stuff thrown in there too, but that's all good. So inherently it's really not unhealthy. You know, on the face of it, that sounds pretty good. But actually it's kind of lacking in protein. And I've only really realised that because I've sort of started to feel it, and I've kind of been like feeling a bit tired, getting a bit wobbly, just, yeah, not really feeling my best. And then I was kind of thinking, actually, why is this? And kind of looked at what I was eating and thinking, oh shit, I'm actually missing protein in my diet, which is a bit embarrassing given what I'm doing here. It's easy to preach, but actually turns out it's quite easy to not realise what you're doing wrong yourself. So, I kind of came back to like thinking, well, why is that? Like, I know what I need to do. I'm full of hints and tips for you guys in terms of how to do it and how to fit it into your life and everything. But why am I struggling to get protein into my own diet? That seems crazy. And it's because I'm not meal prepping. So I'm all about ease. I have to be honest, I'm all about ease. And because I'm not doing much meal prepping right now, there's no easy protein in my fridge, or you know, I've not got anything to hand that I can just chuck in a salad or chuck in a stir fry or add to a sandwich or something that is really easy and to hand, because I haven't prepped in advance, therefore. And also it's not as easy to grab from the supermarket. I think this is the one thing that I'm kind of having to admit to myself over the past few years, because I used to be very much of the opinion that, you know, plant-based eating can be easy, it doesn't need to be this big chore, but getting protein into your diet just isn't as easy, and it's not as readily available in the supermarket, for example. You can't just pick up some pre-cooked chicken and you know, eat it in a sandwich, or even just chicken and stick in a stir fry, you know, or milk or cheese or eggs. All these things within an omnivorous diet are just really ready to go. You just buy it and eat it straight away. Whereas with a plant-based diet, there is a bit more prep that has to go into, you know, your proteins, if you like. So you can't just buy a hunk of tofu and eat it raw. Not very good. Yeah, you can eat beans. You know, beans don't need any cooking, but it gets a bit dull unless you do start doing more adventurous things with them. So yeah, there is a bit of prepping to it, which is unavoidable. So that's what today's live is about, basically. How to prep some protein in advance to make sure you do have protein that's ready to go from your fridge and you don't need to find yourself lacking on the good stuff, basically. And it's kind of ironic because it's kind of when you're busy and stressed that you stop meal prepping, and that's when you need all this stuff the most. That's when you need to be making sure you're eating in a nutritionally balanced diet and you are getting your protein and you are getting balanced meals to make sure that you're striving. Which is exactly why I created New Norms. So this is all very ironic. I know it's not lost on me. I realise the irony of this, but I wanted to share it and be kind of quite honest and open about it because, yeah, like I say, if I'm struggling, then so are many people out there, I'm sure. So, yeah, I need to either start buying into what I'm selling and eating some of my own meal plans, which I haven't been doing either, or I seem to be following more than my nutrition advice. I seem to be following the business advice of don't get high in your own supply. So I am, rather than eating my own meals, I'm just nutritionally suffering. But anyway, all good. We're going to sort that out tonight. So like I say, slightly indulgent. I'm going to prep loads of protein tonight and I'm going to fuel myself through the week with lots of tasty prep protein. But I hope that works for some of you guys as well and you can get some inspiration on how to make sure you're getting more plant-based protein into your diet. So let's get into it. Enough jibber jabber for me. So start off with the ingredients. So what I'm going to show you tonight is basically how to prep the protein, and then I'm going to give some examples of how you can use it. So all the ingredients here is basically to make teriyaki tempeh. So we've got 400 grams of tempeh. I'll come back to that in a minute in terms of the type of tempeh that I'd recommend getting. We've got 5 or 6 tablespoons of soy sauce. I've split it here because half's for the marinade and half's for the sauce. 60 millilitres of water, a clove of garlic, that's all for the marinade. And then we've got 3 teaspoons of apple cider vinegar. Moving it here to figure out which one's which. 2 tablespoons of maple syrup, a tablespoon of sesame oil, a teaspoon of corn flour, and either half a teaspoon of chili flakes or a teaspoon of Tabasco, whichever works for you, whichever you've got. And that's all you'll need basically for the teriyaki tempeh. Like I say, that's the marinade and also the teriyaki sauce. There's 3 key points to tempeh, if you ask me. Well, I think tempeh is a bit like Marmite. It seems to be a bit of a love it or hate it, but I absolutely adore tempeh. And I think this is a bold claim, but I think anyone who doesn't love tempeh just hasn't eaten good tempeh cooked well. So if you're not a tempeh lover, then please let me convert you. I'm not sure how I'm going to do that. Either you follow this recipe or buy our teriyaki tempeh from our delivered meal plans. But honestly, tempeh can be just such a delight. So first off, I'd recommend getting your tempeh from the Chinese supermarket. So this tempeh here is, like I say, it's from the Chinese supermarket just on Leith Walk. Generally speaking, all tempehs I've had from the Chinese supermarket has been tip top. Whenever I've bought one from like a mainstream supermarket, it just hasn't been very good. And I have to be honest, the only one that I've really tried has been from the tofu company. And I just found it really bland and just didn't have the same taste whatsoever. To be fair, I haven't tried, there's lots of other ones like Tiba, and there's quite a few popping up in the supermarkets that I haven't tried. So yeah, if you're a tempeh lover, then let me know in the comments which ones you've tried and which ones are good. But I don't veer too far away from the stuff from the Chinese supermarket now because it's just brilliant. So that's the first thing, make sure you get a good tempeh because it does make a difference. Second thing is you have to steam it, and do not skimp on the length of time you steam it because I don't know what it does, but it kind of like opens up its pores or something. I'm sure it doesn't have pores, but it makes it more absorbent or something. And then steaming it just allows all the flavour to really kind of seep into the tempeh. So make sure you steam it, and make sure you steam it for a good 20 minutes. Flip it both ways and make sure you give it proper steam. Key thing with making tempeh is don't skimp on the time, which is why I've got a few. Here's some I made earlier tonight because I knew that cooking it live I'd end up skimping on the time and then you wouldn't get the full experience. So you need to know that it takes time. It's a very simple recipe, but it does take a bit of time. So bear with. Next thing is you have to marinate it. So once you steam the tempeh, you can't just start cooking with it from that because it's bland. It doesn't taste of much. And if that's how you've normally cooked tempeh, that will be why you don't like it, because it is quite bland. So before you start cooking with it, you need to marinate it, which we'll do now. And then once you've marinated it, that's kind of like your starting point. Then you can cook with it like you would any other meat or tofu or anything like that. But until you've marinated it, you've not really got to your starting point of the tempeh. So that is the top tips for tempeh. Right, should we get going? So first up, we're going to steam it. Let me just pop this to one side. So I tend to slice the tempeh into kind of inch thick slices. I don't have a steamer, but I'm just going to put a pan of water onto boil with a sieve on top of it. And I'm just going to pop the tempeh in there, bring that pan of water to the boil, and then that's going to be how I'm steaming it. If you've got a steamer, then by all means be fancy, use your steamer. But I've never really seen the need because a good old-fashioned pan and sieve or colander does the trick. Right. So here's your chunk of tempeh, put it on its flat side, and then just cut off the edges, the very ends there, just to make it neat more than anything else. You don't really have to do that, to be fair. And then, like I say, I tend to chop it into inch thick slices for steaming. That means it's thick enough that it doesn't break up whilst you're steaming it. And it also means it's thick enough that if you want to change the size of it, like you want to cut it into chunks or something, depending on how you're cooking with it afterwards, you can easily do that and it's not going to fall apart. So that's a 400 gram block and that's into 8 slices. So once that water's up to boil, I'm just going to pop the tempeh around the edges of the sieve, like that. And then let it steam. You've got to choose the size of your sieve wisely. There you go. Pretty as a peach. So I'm going to bring that into the center so you can see it. And just like that. Wonderful. It's a flower of tempeh prettiness. Flower of tempeh perfection. So we're just going to bring that up to the boil and then reduce it to a simmer for, well, I mean, it's steaming, so you can boil. You can steam it as vigorously or as gently as you want. But I'd say probably a medium steam for about 20 minutes. You'll start to smell it. It's kind of got like a, kind of like a fermented smell. It doesn't smell delicious, but don't worry about that. It will taste delicious. So yeah, steam for about 20 minutes, and then we'll take it from there. I have prepared one earlier to make sure you're not just sitting waiting for it to steam for 20 minutes, because that would probably be one of my most boring cook-alongs. Sure, there's been worse ones, but probably the most boring one. So here is some I have steamed earlier. So you'll see it doesn't change. It looks pretty much the same. It's maybe slightly yellowier, but it doesn't really change. So once you've steamed it, but I promise I've steamed this for a good 20 minutes. Now we're going to marinate it. So into a large, shallow dish, we're going to put 3 tablespoons of soy sauce, or you can use tamari if you like instead. 60 milliliters of water. Doesn't have to be hot water, it can be hot or cold, it doesn't make a difference. And then we're just going to crush a clove of garlic. So bear in mind, this is the kind of base flavour of the tempeh, if you like. This isn't us kind of like making a sauce for it. This is us just sort of giving it its base flavour. So I don't tend to put too much different flavours into this. You can put some chilli into it if you like. If you know you like it spicy, or everything you're going to be cooking it with spicy, you can do that. But I wouldn't go much crazier than that. Then a bit of soy sauce, a bit of garlic, and a bit of chilli if you like, but I wouldn't go much crazier because, like I say, this is just your base flavour. You don't want to make it too fancy because it's still got, you can push it in any different direction, flavour direction, with whatever sauce that you choose to make next. We're making teriyaki today, but you could make curry sauce or barbecue sauce or sweet and sour sauce or satay or loads of different types of flavours. So this is just your base that you want to keep quite simple. So into that, we're then just going to pop the tempeh slices flat into the shallow dish, and we're going to marinate for 20 to 30 minutes. You can't marinate it for too long, but less than 20 minutes and it just won't be tasty. That's the other thing that's going wrong, you see. People are impatient. I myself am quite an impatient cook, so normally if there's a shortcut, I will take it. There is no shortcut with tempeh. Tempeh takes, no, I was going to try and find a time pun there, but I can't. Tempeh takes time. It's not really a pun. So leave this to marinate for 20 to 30 minutes. It should and flip it halfway. It should basically absorb all of this lovely marinade-y sauce. So 20 to 30 minutes, or until it absorbs all that goodness. And you want to make sure that it's in a shallow enough dish, in a big enough dish, that it actually is all laid out flat like that, and it's all got space to suck up all that lovely soy goodness. That's my tempeh steaming away lovely there, so I'm just turning it down slightly because it's boiling quite vigorously. So we'll let that marinate, pop that to one side. Abracadabra, 20 minutes later, well, this one's been going for probably going for about an hour, but 20 to 30 minutes will do it, and it should have absorbed all that liquid in 20 to 30 minutes. But you can see now it's sort of changed colour. If we do a before and after, you can see that it's changed colour slightly. It's picked up some of that flavour and colour from the soy sauce, but again, not changed dramatically. The good thing about tempeh is, at this point, we are about 45-50 minutes into cooking. So it does take time, but it's quite a good opportunity to be prepping other things as well. So if you're doing it as like a bit of meal prep to make sure you've got protein in your fridge, at the same time you could be chopping up some veg, prepping some chickpeas, or making a bit of the base of a bean salad or something. You can be doing lots of other little bits and bobs in the kitchen, making some flapjacks or whatever. You could be doing lots of different things whilst you're waiting for the tempeh to marinate. So it kind of works from a meal preppy point of view for that reason. So this is now, if you're cooking with meat, this is basically your raw chicken. This is how you can start cooking with it. Before it's got to this point, it's going to be super bland and tasteless. So make sure you never, ever, ever skip the steaming or the marinating. Have I said that enough yet? So pop that to one side, and now we're going to get a wee jug of water. Not a jug of water. I've got a jug, it's full of water, so I don't need it full of water. I'm just going to hit that out. Got a jug, and into that we're going to make the teriyaki sauce. So 3 tablespoons of soy sauce. In we go. 4 teaspoons of apple cider vinegar. In we go. 2 tablespoons of maple syrup. Pop it in. And this is a teriyaki sauce that you could use for anything. You could use this just for a stir fry without tempeh, or you could use it for, salad or anything really. And a teaspoon of, that was a tablespoon of sesame oil, I'm not sure if I said, and then a teaspoon of corn flour. And last but not least, like I say, you could use a teaspoon of Tabasco. I'm just going to put half a teaspoon of chipotle chili flakes in there to make it slightly smoky. But whatever you've got, you just want a wee bit of spice, not too much. And then whisk that quite vigorously so you don't get any sort of corn flour lumps. But because it's so little, you shouldn't really need to have to sort of you shouldn't need to have to make it into a paste with water, because it's just a teaspoon. All right. There we go. Teriyaki sauce. You can see it's corn flour just thickens it up ever so slightly. You can see in there, but it's got quite a pungent smell. It's kind of sweet, salty, quite rich in flavour. So now we don't need to worry about our tempeh cooking there. That's just for the steaming process, but we're past that now in our cook along. So what we're going to do now is get a medium frying pan, onto a medium heat, drizzle of oil. I'm just going to use sesame oil because it's what I had to hand, but you could easily just use olive oil instead. But sesame oil just gives it a really lovely flavour. So medium heat. And then what we're going to do is pour this teriyaki sauce over our marinated tempeh. Yummy, yummy, yummy. Get all of that out there. And then flip each of the slices so they're fully coated in the sauce. Oh, I forgot a vital step. Well, it doesn't really matter when you do it, but it's easier to cut your tempeh before you pour the sauce over it. So for example, if you want your tempeh to be in chunks because you're going to do it on skewers or in thinner slices because you're going to put it in a sandwich, then it's easiest to do that before you put the sauce in it. I have forgotten, so I'm going to have to take it out now and do it. So today we're going to do a couple of tempeh skewers, and for that I want sort of chunks of tempeh that we can stick on a skewer, like so. So I'm just going to do 6 like that and then pop them back in the sauce, just because you don't want to have any white edges, so I'm just going to make sure they all get nice and coated in the sauce. And then I'm also going to do a tempeh sandwich. So for that I'm just going to make slightly thinner slices of the tempeh. So rather than having those kind of inch thick slices, I'm just going to cut them in half so they're better for sticking in a sandwich. There we go. And again, it's just so you don't get that sort of white centre. You can sear them both with the lovely teriyaki sauce and pop them back in the sauce. And then, now you can smell our sesame oil. We're just going to fry each of these bits of tempeh for about 2 minutes either side. So first off, don't worry about the sauce, just get the tempeh in. And then we'll caramelise the sauce once the tempeh is cooked. So basically it's about 2 minutes each side, and that's for the inch thick pieces. For the thinner pieces that we're putting in now for our sandwiches, they probably only take a minute each side. They will stick to the pan slightly. Don't worry about that, just make sure you keep moving them around. Smells delish. And they'll pick up a beautiful colour as well. So yeah, just move them around so they don't stick. And they will sort of very quickly look like they're burning, but it's just that kind of soy sauce searing to the bottom of them. And because there's some maple syrup and stuff in there as well, it does get a bit sticky and kind of look a bit charred, but it's all part of the delicious flavour. But if you want to mix up the flavours, so if you're prepping a whole bunch of tempeh, you could do some in the teriyaki sauce like this, and then you could make a separate sauce that was maybe like a satay with some soy sauce, some peanut butter, some chili, and you could do a really nice, maybe put some orange juice in there as well. You got a really nice sweet and nutty satay sauce. Or you could do barbecue sauce, or you could do a sweet and sour sauce. You could do all sorts of different, or a curry even sauce. So there's all sorts of different flavours you could bring in. So if you wanted to a bit of variation in terms of the flavour of the tempeh throughout the week, you could make different sauces. That said, what I'm going to show you now is we're going to make 3 different things. We're going to make skewers, sandwich, and salad. I'm going to make them all with this teriyaki tempeh, and even amongst that, like the flavours are all so different that you won't get bored of it. It's like, you know, people don't say they get bored if they have chicken 3 nights a week. You're not going to get bored if you have tempeh 3 nights a week done in completely different ways. So yeah, I think it's more than varied as it is. I'm just making sure nothing's sticking. And then might just flip these little thin bits already. There we go, look at that colour. How good does that look? So of those of you who are watching, who likes tempeh? Who's cooked with tempeh before? Or who's eaten tempeh and been like, nah, not convinced? Curious to hear. Let me know if you watch back as well, because I'm kind of curious in turn, because tempeh does seem to be a real kind of love it or hate it kind of thing. Okay, I'm going to flip these chunks now as well, and the chunks you probably want to try and get a little bit of colour on all edges. Oh. Pesky little things. Come on. Oh, it's such a good smell. Oh, I can't wait for dinner. And then we'll flip our big boys. Here we go. Perfect colour. And yeah, like I say, the more patience you've got with tempeh, the better, because it does just take a bit of time to let all those flavours release. Amy, not convinced on tempeh full stop. I'll have to cook it for you sometime, because I reckon you've just not had the right tempeh. I say this to everyone. I'll be really sad if I do cook tempeh for someone. Well, no, actually, our tempeh gets great reviews, the teriyaki tempeh in our meal plans. So yeah, I'm proving my point there. Right. So let's just see how we're doing on the other side. Looking good. This part, when you're just pan frying it, this is not the bit that you need to be careful with the time. So like this, once you get to the point that it's marinated, just cook it as you would normally cook other things. It's not so precious then. Once you've got to the point that it's lovely marinated and it's sat in that marinade for 30 minutes, then you're kind of home straight, and how you cook it after that, you can kind of play around with it a little bit more. If it starts sticking, then just add a little splash more of your sauce. There we go. Make sure it's not sticking there. Whilst we're here, I'm just going to flip the tempeh that's steaming to make sure that you're kind of opening up it so it absorbs the flavour on all sides. But you can see it's changing colour to that slightly yellower colour, so it's pretty much good to go. Oh, should probably use tongs for that, not just your fingers. So I'm just going to turn that right down now, because that won't take much longer. Okay, right, I think our tempeh's in a good place. So now I'm just going to add the rest of this teriyaki sauce so it can kind of caramelize off. Marvellous. That doesn't take long at all. Just kind of give it a little bit of a sugar. And then you don't want that to, what's the word, reduce. You just want it to kind of you want it to reduce ever so slightly, but not too much. So that's perfect, just as it's bubbling on like that. And then we're just going to turn it off. There we have it. Simples. So let's make that into some delicious meals. So at this point, this is when I would sort of get my Tupperware at the ready, and I'm going to say, okay, you can freeze some if you're not going to use it all in the week. You can actually freeze it at the point that you've marinated it. You don't even need to cook it like this. You can freeze it at the point that's marinated, and then you've just kind of got it's almost like your sort of raw protein in the freezer, so you can just pick it out and do anything you want with it. Or you can freeze it once it's like this. So if you're thinking, right, I'm going to have the skewers, the sandwich, and a salad, and then I'm not going to eat any more tempeh in the next 3 days, so you can just whack the rest of it in the freezer. And then it's super easy to bring out the freezer and then just stick it in the microwave for well, if it's frozen, you can microwave it from frozen and it'll take about 8 minutes or less if you let it defrost first. And then you can just use it in any of the ways I'm going to show you now as well. So it's super easy. Once it's cooked, once you've spent the time on this part, then you're good to go basically. Right, so first up, we'll do a wee salad, shall we? Super easy. So just get some leaves in the base of a nice big salad bowl. Got some spinach and some rocket. Always a good base. And then into that, I'm going to put, actually I'm not going to put some cucumber because I'm going to need that for something else. I'm going to use some apple. I love a bit of fruit in my salad. Just going to chop that. And obviously for your salad, you can use absolutely anything that you've got going. I've just pillaged my fridge here to see what's going, and I'm just sticking some fruit and veg that I've got into this salad, but you can be as adventurous or as basic with it as you like. So here we go. Some apple chunks. Delish. I've got a roasted red pepper, so you can put some of that in here. Keep some for our skewers and our sandwich. Just going to slice some of that into little chunks. And then add some of that in here too. I love roasted red pepper. What else are we going to put in here? Some cherry toms. Can't beat them. Ooh, run away. Okay. Slice them and pop them on. But like I say, you can put whatever you fancy in here. Delish. Maybe a wee bit of cucumber as well, so it doesn't look too red. Needs some extra colours in there, doesn't it? Just gonna slice them up. Wee corner of cucumber. And then I'm going to make a wee dressing for that, which I'm just going to keep really simple because we've got the teriyaki tempeh to put on top. And just do a little bit of balsamic vinegar. When I'm can't really be bothered or don't really have much in terms of dressing ingredients, I just go super simple with balsamic and mustard. Bit of balsamic, bit of mustard. Mix them together. We normally shake it in a jar. And then drizzle some of that over the salad. Yum, yum, yum. Probably want to get your knots of mustard out a little bit better than I did there. And then we're just going to pop, where have I put my tongs? Tongies, where'd you go? And we're just going to put some tasty slices of tempeh on top. Looks like two will do. There we go. Super easy. So imagine you had that tempeh already prepped. That takes minutes. You know, you can have that ready for a quick and easy lunch if you're working from home. Perfect. Dish one done. Dish two. I'm gonna make some skewers. So again, I'm gonna go super simple. Some cucumber. Cut them into chunks. A couple of cherry tomatoes each. This is basic, you know, it's really not, we're not breaking any groundbreaking stuff here. It's just sort of showing how easy it is once you've got this prepped ingredients. So, chunk of tempeh, stick him on. Bit of roast red pepper. bit of cucumber, and repeat. And these, so when everyone else is out barbecuing and you're feeling a bit sad because you don't have, oh, I forgot cherry tomato in the first bit. You're feeling a bit sad because shop-bought veggie burgers suck. Not all of them, there's some decent ones. But then you can bring out one of these sexy tempeh skewers and guarantee they'll all be wanting one. So there you go. And if you've got this prepped in your freezer, then all the better. You know, if someone springs a barbecue on you because it's randomly a hot day, because let's face it, that's really how it works here, then you're all good to go. So basically my advice to myself and to you guys is to have your freezer stocked up with tempeh chunks, tempeh slices, just marinated tempeh, tempeh that is curried, is barbecued, all the types. How good is that? So yeah, stick that on a barbecue. Pop that to everyone in my mouth. I shouldn't have done that. Stick on a barbecue, or serve it with a salad for lunch, super easy. Or just have them in the, just have some chunks in the fridge with some chunks of veg, and then just make one up and have it as a snack. Delicious. Delicious and really well balanced in terms of like your nutrition. Last but not least, and something you probably didn't think about doing with tempeh, is making a sandwich. So, get yourself a couple slices of bread. Put a little bit of your favorite vegan mayo or whatever your favorite. Oh, come on, Norms, that was going to happen, wasn't it? Whatever your favorite sort of sandwich sticker together is. Just got some, funny thing is, I actually really hate, I've never liked mayo, but I love vegan mayo. Weird, eh? So whatever your preferred sandwich base is, pop some of that on. And then some spinach or rocket or whatever your leaf of choice for your sandwich is. I love rocket, so I'm going to go for a little base of rocket here. That doesn't want to stay on. A roast red pepper, just going to slice some of that and put that on the bottom. Delish. Then I'm going to get my tempeh slices. So I've got the thinner ones here, which just kind of work a little bit better in a sandwich. Pop them on. Oh, slippy. Slippy, slippy, come on, play ball. Maybe I should have put my pepper on the way around so it didn't just slip off. Tempeh, then pepper. That's going to make life easier. Messy fingers. Here we go. So base of tempeh, and put your red pepper, roast red pepper on top. Excuse my messy fingers. And then you can stick some cucumber on top of that if you like. Why not? Just gonna, oh God. Got cucumber rolling all over the floor and not on the plate. So what I've not landed on the floor, we'll pop on there. Bit of chili sauce to top it with because can't beat it. Sweet chili sauce just to top that off and make it super sexy sandwich. And close her over. See how well I can cut this without it all falling apart? Come on, play ball. I love sandwiches, but I hate transporting sandwiches because there's nothing better than a freshly made sandwich that looks like, dun dun dun. Oh, come on, looks like this. That looks pretty good. That looks pretty tasty as far as sandwiches go, eh? Nothing better than that. But as soon as you have to start cling filming it and carrying it around for half the day, boosh, sandwiches. So, here we go. Tempeh salad, delish. So easy to put. Once you prep your tempeh, these all take 3 to 5 minutes and are all so delicious. Right, so that's it, guys. That is but there's a myriad of other things you could do. You know, you could just use the tempeh in a stir fry, in a curry, in loads of different things. So there's so many different ways you could do it. These are just a few suggestions to get you started. So yeah, that's it. I hope that was useful. I hope it gave you some ideas. And for all the tempeh haters out there, I hope that I've managed to convince you otherwise, or at least to try it, because I think it's definitely, I think it's definitely worth giving a go. Cool. So that's us. Next week, be back, same time, same place. Next week, I'm joined by the lovely Mary Cotter from Stellar Health. She's a nutritionist and she specialises in gut health. So she knows all about fermented food. And I love, there's a lot of chat around fermented food and gut health, and everyone's talking about your gut being your second brain and all the rest of it. But I think there's also a lot of stuff to weed through, especially on social media and the like, in terms of, you know, myths and yeah, nutrition bollocks basically. So I'm excited to get Mary in to tell us what's what when it comes to gut health and fermented foods. So that's super exciting. She'll be here in the kitchen at 8 o'clock next Monday, and I will be cooking a miso noodle stir fry. So miso is fermented, so that's good for your gut health, and I'll be showing you how to cook a dish with that, which tastes lush. So yeah, join us then. And just before I go, obviously our meal plans are still available to order online. It's been quite quiet for the last couple of weeks. I think everyone's away on holiday. But if you're going on a staycation and you want some food to take with you, or if, like me, you are struggling to prioritise your health, then it's a great way to make sure you're eating nutritionally balanced plant-based meals if you're not finding the time to cook from scratch yourself. So please do look us up or drop me a message if you've got any questions on it or would like to hear more, and I'd be more than happy to chat to you about it. All right, well, it's been a pleasure, guys. I cannot wait to get stuck into dinner. I'm not quite sure which one I'm going to eat and which one I'm going to save for tomorrow, but I'll let you know. All right, take care, guys. See you soon. Bye.